Hey, entrepreneur, it's Denise Klein here with Klein Virtual, and I'm joined today by Jamie Pridmore of Pridmore Bookkeeping. She's my new bookkeeper, so happy to found her and be able to refer her and introduce her to all of you. Jamie, I'm going to let you have the floor. Tell us a little about you and your business.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for having me. So my name's Jamie Pridmore. I own Jamie Pridmore Bookkeeping. I started my bookkeeping company early last year, 2022, but I've been doing accounting and bookkeeping for over a decade.
Mhm.
I started in college when a friend of the family needed an accounting assistant, and I told her straight up, I am not going to do this for the rest of my life. Like, this is not for me. This is too much stuff. And then I fell in love with it. And
Mhm.
so it just kind of like evolved from there. And so with what we do, it's, as the name says, Jamie Pridmore Bookkeeping. I do all bookkeeping services. I do CFO services as well. And I just started doing payroll services through Gusto.
Nice.
So it's one of my the new thing I'm loving is learning, not learning, but teaching others how to do payroll for their company or doing it for them.
Very
It's a
nice.
lot of fun.
Very cool. So you've been in bookkeeping for a while. What made you want to go out and start your own thing?
So my husband and I lived in Alabama our entire lives, and we kind of traveled around and stuff. And he was in the military. We came home to Alabama and started our family. And so that's when my accounting stuff kind of took off, and I became an operations accountant. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here, do my thing. Well, then he graduated college and got a job in DC. And so we actually made the decision at the time. I was pregnant with our second, and it's like, okay, we'll just live separately. He'll do his thing, I'll do mine. He'll see the kids on the weekend. We'll make it work. Because I didn't want to leave my job. And it was in 2021. So right after COVID. And it was just that whole, if you move and do something new at that time, it could really disrupt your entire job because of what's going on. And my job did not do telework. They didn't believe it, or they still don't believe in it. But so after having my daughter and living alone with two kids and doing the single mom life, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. I need to either be with my kids and my family and my husband, or I've got to figure something out. So that's when I made the decision to quit my job, and we moved to DC to be with my husband.
Mhm.
And I became a stay-at-home mom for a year.
Mhm.
It was great. It was the first time in my life I ever considered not going back to work, and because I was raised by a mom who was a workaholic, and to this day she comes and stays and helps me with the kids and still works the entire time. It's
Oh,
just just the culture I grew up in.
mhm.
And um and because of that, I always knew my kids were going to be in daycare. I was going to be working all the time. And so having that opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom and to see the other side of things, it was like, oh wow. So at that point, after a year by the end of that year, it was end of 2021, I was like, okay, this just sounds crazy, but I kind of got bored with being a stay-at-home mom, not having anybody to talk to but my kids. So
Mhm.
actually I got a job at Starbucks. I was like, let me get a fun job for the
There
holidays.
there you
Loved it.
go. Mhm.
And then I got bored with that, and I was like, okay, this is fun getting out of the house, but I don't want to be on a clock. I don't want to have to call my manager and be like, "Hey, I need to right, I can't come in today. I need to do this. I want to do this. My kids are sick, that whole thing." And so I got on Upwork, and that's actually where I got my first client. So one of my first clients is a production company. They're still with me. And that's just kind of how it snowballed from there. Once I got my first client, I got a second client, and I left my Starbucks job. Hate the fact that I had to leave the benefits. We got free coffee once a week, free drinks on shift. Like, it was the best thing, and it was
That's
across the
good stuff.
street.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
good
yeah,
benefits.
yeah, it was great benefits, and then it was all across the street from our apartment, so I just had to walk to work. Wasn't wasting gas money. I mean, it was a godsend for the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it kind of snowballed from there. I started my business, quit that, and now I have the best of both worlds. I'm able to run the company that I want to run in the way that I want to run it. And I get to take my kids to school, pick them up from school. If I have sick kids one day, I have client meetings, I just move my meetings. Usually everyone's pretty good about it. And
Mhm.
that's like the number one thing I tell my clients, families first. I created this company on this basis.
Yes,
So if you're not going to be respectful of my time and my time with my family, then it's not going to be,
it's not
it's
gonna
not going to be
fit.
a good relationship,
Yeah,
not a good
yeah.
fit. And, we'll find you somebody else, another bookkeeper who's going to be a better fit for you.
Yeah. I feel like that whole thing that you just said is like the best commercial for being an entrepreneur.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
because and the thing is you and I both I'm fairly new to entrepreneurship and it's something I wanted to do for a very long time. And
Hmm.
now being on this side of things, yes, I am busy. I'm busy all the time, but I
Hmm.
do have that flexibility. So like I took my son to the pediatrician the other day and to be able to just
Yeah.
stop and take care of the things you need to without asking permission. And I love what you said, you're building your business on the basis of family first. That is
Yeah.
your priority. And so you're building your business around that. And
Hmm.
I love that. I think that's a great endorsement for what entrepreneurship really can be.
Yes.
And
Thank
to
you.
make it be exactly what you want it to be. And that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to do too. Um,
Yeah.
if if you have in your business,
Mhm.
are there any obstacles or anything that you've kind of had to overcome as you've gotten into your business?
So the biggest obstacle I have, and a lot of other entrepreneurs that I've talked to, especially women that I've talked to, they deal with this as well. The biggest obstacle I have is overcoming the idea that I don't work for myself. So I tell myself, and I know I work for myself.
Mhm,
My husband called me the other day, almost made me cry. The other day we were talking, he was like, "Yeah, we were talking about our kids or something, what they think of us," and he was like, "Yeah, well, your kid, he works for the federal government. He's like, yeah, I'm a government worker. He's saying you're a self-made business owner," and I was like, "Oh, never, I never thought of myself as that."
mhm,
And but that's the biggest obstacle I face daily, and I've been getting a lot better about it,
mhm,
but because I came from the culture of the corporate world and always having someone tell me what needs to be done, and I would come into work and go, okay, here's my task for the day, and write them all down, and I still do the same thing. I still have the same practices, organizational practices, but this time I'm the one making the calls, and that's a very hard concept, that I've had to work through
mhm,
because I have clients that have their needs. And when I first started this business, I was putting my clients' needs above
mhm.
mine and my family's needs. And it was not working. And actually I ended up losing, or parting ways with a client because of it, because I went back to her. I was like, hey, to be honest with you, I accepted a very low rate with that client, and she abused it. And
Mhm.
I finally confronted her about it and I was like, this isn't going to work. And we parted ways. The other client was completely the opposite. I'm still with that client, but he's amazing. And he was like, look, log your hours. If you're working more than a certain number of hours with us, log your hours. And at that point, I was like, I realized I was putting too much pressure on myself because I was in the corporate world mindset. And I had to shift to be in the business owner mindset. My
Yeah.
clients do come first, but first after my family.
Yes.
And that was a huge shift I've had to make. And I'm still making it every day, but it's gotten a lot better. But that's been a huge obstacle.
Yeah, and I think that is something I know for me, I kind of struggle with the same
Yeah.
thing. I've been an employee, and so
Hmm.
switching from an employee mindset to the CEO mindset, the business
Yeah.
owner mindset is hard. And especially, I don't know about you, but I tend to be a people pleaser. So when
Same.
I have a client that says, "Oh, can you do this?" I
Yeah.
automatically want to say yes, but then I have to think, okay, is this outside of the scope of what I said I was going to do? Is this outside
Hmm.
of the scope of the hours?
Yeah.
And all of that. And it can be hard. And you kind of hit on something too, even making that change. You talked about you have the kind of the same organizational practices you had as an employee and bring that
Hmm.
into business. That was something for me because I just stepped away from my full-time job. So once I stepped away from that, I didn't have any structure in my day. Now I suddenly had the
Oh,
entire
yeah.
day in front of me, and I was like, okay, how am I going to structure this to make the most of my time? And so that's been an interesting transformation as well. Yeah, it's a big adjustment.
It is, it is. And that's the whole thing for me. Is another thing that you hit on that I didn't say was that, and I still struggle with this. This is so hard. I am the type of person who you ask me to do something and I do it right away because I think when you're asking me, it's a priority at that moment.
Mhm.
And so I have almost, and I've gotten very close to it sometimes, and I'll probably have to do it during tax season. Take my email off my phone because people will email me and clients will email me, and I will either email them right back right away, but then I have to stop myself. And go, okay, if I email them back, that's telling them I have working hours
Yes.
and that they can continue to email me, and so that's something I still struggle with. But I have clients that'll email me and I'll wait until I sit down at my computer to email them back or to get back to them. And it's it's so sad, but such a struggle for me
Mhm.
to not email them back right away because in my mind it's got to get done. But then again, it's like, well, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's it really does have to get done right then and there.
And that's exactly what it is. And I think that for me, it comes from years of, you know, I always kind of was the person in my office people came to because they needed something. And I'm like, okay, well,
Yes.
I'm just going to do it for them. I'm just going to take
Yeah.
care of it. And yeah, it's a hard habit to break. And because you
Yeah.
want to serve, you want to give,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
want to over deliver. So
Exactly.
there's a fine line there.
There
Yeah.
is. There is. You have to keep reminding yourself about
E-
that.
Exactly. My next question is, how do you define success in your business? What measures do you use? And obviously family first is a big part of that, I'm sure.
So, one of the things, so I have been really bad lately, and I've gotten better, but I had been really bad lately by counting the number of clients that I had, like putting a number and say, okay, my goal is to have X amount of clients,
Mhm,
and using that number as a success basis, which is the wrong thing to do,
mhm,
because when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have that many clients. I'm not hitting the mark that I wanted. But then I went back and like I pulled my income and revenue metrics,
mhm.
and I have already surpassed my entire what I made last year. So
Nice.
in the first like 6 months of the year. And so it was like, okay, seeing that, I was like, okay, that made me feel better. But even at that point, taking the money part out of it, for me, success is the fact that I don't have to work every evening anymore. When I first started my business,
Yes.
I was working during nap times, which is 2 hours in the day, and in the evenings for like 2 to 3 hours. So I was working probably 6 hours a day. Well, now that the kids are older and my clients I've gotten to I've gotten a better system in place, an organized system of what I'm going to do when, and it's more streamlined that I don't have to work every evening or I don't have to work weekends anymore.
Mm,
And that for me is a huge success because that shows me that this is more than just a part-time type of, business. It is
mhm,
a full-time Monday through Friday. I don't have to work as much in the pockets anymore. I still work at least 1 or 2 evenings out of the month.
mhm.
Um, Especially right now with everything going on. But with the kids, they start school back full time next week, and the little ones in school. And I mean, it has completely opened up my day. I've got so much done,
Yeah.
and so that's one of my metrics beyond
Yeah.
revenue
And I
is timing.
Yeah, and I love that example of you looking at the number of clients. Sometimes we think, okay, this
Yeah.
is the measure. We kind of get locked into that one
Hmm.
idea. And then when you actually go and look at the other things, you're like, oh, okay, there's other ways
Yeah.
to measure that. And of course, work-life balance is a very big
It's yeah.
part of things, but you've got little ones. So I mean
Yeah.
that
I have
time
a
is
5 year old and a 2 year old, and it's the 2 year old is it's one of those. I don't know if you've ever heard of the first one makes you want to have a million kids and the second one makes you have wants to have no more. That was our case. My first one's sweet, compassionate, empathetic, and my second one's a tornado. But
yeah.
she's so sweet. She's like so outgoing, she's everything, but she is a tornado. And so I can't work which you've seen her. I can't work when she's here because she wants to say hey to everybody and be involved. It's great for her age. I
Of
love it. She
course.
she tries to write her name. It's so cute. But it's one of those things where, the work life balance,
Yeah.
uh, definitely a huge part of realizing how success is. And that's where I struggle with too, because I've had a business coach that's told me, hey, write down, she gave me a spreadsheet and she's like, okay, write down how many clients you need at what rate so that you can work on, growing your business. And I don't personally, I don't think that's a great metric to use
Mhm,
because with my business, at least, depending on with you and with my business, you have different packages,
mhm,
and then you have clients that may sign on for more months than others, or you may have one-time projects.
mhm.
So you can't really
No, and
deem
that
your success off that.
no, and not everybody is cookie cutter. You can't say, "Oh,
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm only gonna take clients that pay me $400 a month." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't.
You can't.
And I'm a data girl,
Yeah.
I like, but I wanna treat it as data and not
Yeah.
treat it as some emotional thing. So, if I think it's good to say, yeah, it's a good to have an idea of how many clients I would need at this rate,
Hmm.
because then you can go back and say, okay, well, how many clients do I have that are paying less than that and more than
Yeah.
that? And then you can really start looking at the whole picture. Again, just like you don't want to get pigeonholed into the number of clients, you don't want to pigeonhole
Yeah.
into one particular thing. I don't know. I get hyper focused on things like that sometimes. And I
Yeah.
drive myself crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I totally agree.
Okay. Next question. How do you maintain motivation and stay focused during challenging times?
So that is such a good question because I go through a difficult period in my business because like emotional because of my emotions at least like once every 6 weeks. And I think it's just
Not
because I
just
get
me. You
so
do that too.
drained. Yeah, no, it's not just you.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I remember doing the same thing in corporate world and I would get on the computer and start looking for new jobs. I mean, and I kid you not, it was every 6 to 8 weeks. It has something to do with my hormones.
Mhm,
And I'm totally like I'm aware of it. And so I've been working to get better at it. But during those times, usually I can feel myself like I can feel the thoughts and the emotions creeping up. And so what I'll do is I'll try to stack either less work and I'll do a lot of my heavy work prior to
mhm,
that motion coming on, or I'll try to just I'll work less because
mhm,
during that time I have absolutely no motivation. I get the stuff that needs to get done. I mean, I don't even do marketing during that time. If it's not scheduled, I don't even work on it because I hate marketing and and because I mean it's just hard when that time hits and I'm just like I don't want to do anything. I just want to spend time with my family. I just, I start questioning everything and every person I've talked to, every woman I've talked to that goes through the same thing,
mhm.
she says the exact same thing. And so
Yeah.
the best thing we can do is just kind of stack your work accordingly because
Mhm,
I've seen a correlation.
yeah.
I'm all about finding the correlation, finding the root of the issue and dealing with it head on,
Yeah.
and in doing so you can come out better on the other side. And so that's kind of how I've done it. And so yeah, just stacking work around it in the best way possible and then and taking the rest that you feel like you need.
I
And
love
that's what's worked a lot for me.
I love that you said that. And so, yeah, building in that self-care time. So,
Hmm.
you're going, and I've just gone through this, one of those little periods myself where I was
Yeah.
going through all the emotions and the doubts and stuff. And I think that's just normal part of it. But yeah, I just kind of slow down a little bit and I take
Yeah.
a little bit more time, and it feels counterintuitive. It feels like, okay, well, I'm going to lose momentum if I relax a little bit. But I actually find that once I kind of come out the other side, and I'm like, okay, now I have new ideas, or I'm,
Yeah.
kind of a renewed excitement. And so that just does seem to be part of the cycle. So I love that you
Yeah.
mentioned resting, because I don't think, especially as women,
Hmm.
we value self-care, much less the idea of resting. Like there's something
Yeah.
wrong with resting, but we can't perform at our best if we are not taking care of ourselves. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It's a difficult thing to do, especially as a woman and as a mother,
Mhm.
but it's definitely needed and worth it. And like I've noticed that even during those low times, I beat myself up, the self-doubt, you're
Mhm.
not good enough, and then, you're not getting any clients. And I kid you not, almost every time I end up getting a client at the end of it.
Yeah,
And
isn't that
it's just
amazing?
because of it is, and it's because of the momentum you've built up
Mhm.
before that time. Because when,
Yeah,
like you said, when I come out of it, I'm like on top of the hill, ready to go.
yeah,
I'm hitting the ground running, and that's kind of where it starts showing
yeah.
is after that rest self care area.
That's just so interesting that you have exactly the same thing. So it's just
It's
gotta be
got to be
a
women
typical
hormones.
hormones or something. There's just something
Yeah.
about it. Um, so you've talked about your business and stuff growing. Are there
Mhm.
any strategies or resources that you found helpful in scaling or growing your business?
So yes and no. So when I started out, I got with a bookkeeping coach.
Mhm.
And so she offered two programs. She had a program where it was like teaching you how to be a bookkeeper and a program like teaching you how to grow. And so I went to the growth one because I was already, already knew what I was doing, didn't need to know anymore. And and it was a for the price of it, it wasn't the best program.
Mhm.
I still have it as a resource. I can still use it.
Mhm.
It did help me a little bit, but I have realized over the last year and a half, because of the type of business that I have been marketing in the wrong areas.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that is when I started my business and started marketing and so I started on Upwork, but then I started marketing and trying to bring on my own clients instead of going to the clients, have them come to me. And I started doing that through Instagram. And
Mhm.
that's where I found a lot of other bookkeepers. I actually found like a little tribe community for myself. It was great. I found one, I think it was one client from Instagram, and actually she was a family friend.
Mhm.
But I have found other clients of mine, gotten other clients of mine through like networking events and Facebook groups. I had put over the last year and a half, I had put so much effort and money, and what I mean by money is like social media posts
Mhm.
into Instagram, but it hasn't, other than community, it hasn't offered any growth
Mhm.
on the business side of things. And so recently I made a shift and I'm now trying to focus on like LinkedIn networking groups, paying for leads through a service, and it has helped a lot more. And I guess the biggest thing I've noticed is, and it's the hardest thing to realize and to actually do, especially when you're in the growth season of your business, is to invest money in the right places, or to, I mean, and just to invest money in general. I am not the type of person who likes to spend money to get something.
Mhm.
And I know it sounds dumb, but I never wanted to spend money to get leads because my whole mindset was where I'm in my mind, it was I'm paying them to come to me, but it's not true, especially for bookkeepers, because bookkeepers are um a required service for
Mhm.
most businesses because you need someone to prepare your taxes and you're going to be paying a lot of money for your CPA to do it if they have to do it.
Right.
Not prepare your taxes, I'm sorry, prepare your
Yeah.
financial reports for your
For your
taxes.
taxes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And because a lot of CPAs don't want to do bookkeeping work, and if they do, they
It'll
charge you like
charge a
$400.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
a lot.
$400 an hour is what somebody quoted me before. I
Yeah.
was like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, and because of that, I never wanted to do it. And so one of my payroll client that I just took on came from a paid lead.
Mhm.
And that's when I wrote, like, my eyes opened up and I was like, I'm not
Oh,
paying them to come to me. I'm paying a service to put me first on the list so they know I'm there.
yeah.
And that has been a mindset changer. I mean, it has completely changed my mindset. And I'm like, okay, this is worth the investment
Yes.
because it's like a Google SEO search. I know nothing about SEOs,
Mhm.
but I am willing to put $50 aside every month to put towards leads to see if I can't have someone realize, to
Yeah.
have someone at least see my website.
Yeah. Well, and there is, and as we grow in our businesses, one of the metrics that I know is important is like client acquisition costs. And
Yeah.
I used to be in real estate a million years ago, and I was actually a relocation director. And so my job was to go find companies that would give us referrals to give to our clients. So I was
Oh, okay.
generating that. And, a lot of my agents would be like, I don't want to pay a 30% referral fee or 25% referral fee. But
Mhm.
they didn't realize they were you're spending money to get clients, whether that is your time going to networking meetings
Yeah.
or prospecting. However you're prospecting, you're spending either time or money, and so to
Mhm.
get those clients, so having referrals, or like you're talking about where you're buying leads, or um, buying a service that will help you get leads,
Hmm.
that investment, if you're tracking it,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
said putting your money in the right places, but you have to try it and then track it and say, okay, is the money that I'm spending giving me a
it's
return on that investment? So
yeah,
I love that you're
absolutely.
trying those things and
Yeah,
finding
I mean,
what
and
works for you.
yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like even with Upwork, where people well, and that's the whole. I mean, that's it. It really depends on the type of business you have,
Mhm.
but whether or not you need to do something like that, or if it's an investment. For bookkeeping, it is because
Yes.
I was talking to someone about this the other day, and even with virtual assistants too.
Mhm.
People are not looking for VAs and like bookkeepers and technical contractors through Instagram. They're
No.
just not. Or even Facebookers. They're looking for coaches. They're looking for community. They're look for stuff
Mhm.
outside of that. And that was the whole like, flip of the switch. Okay, I've got to do something different.
Yeah. I see her back
Yes, my 5-year-old.
there.
That's fine. Yes. She was asking me if she could watch something on TV. We always
Oh,
have to screen what they watch.
oh, that's very smart. Well, good. Okay, next question. Could you share a piece of advice or a tip for aspiring entrepreneurs? Somebody who's thinking about maybe they've thought, oh, I'd like to have a business, but I don't know if I can do it. What advice would
Okay.
you give somebody for somebody like that?
So the biggest advice I can give is write it down. Write down your idea, write down what you're thinking about, and then write down how you would do it. So I love this question because the idea for my business actually came in 2019.
Mhm.
When I was still in corporate, I was sick and tired of it. The company I was with at the time, our VP had actually left and said, "I'm getting off the sinking ship before it sinks." And
Wow.
we're all like, "Okay, something's gonna happen."
Mhm.
And I ended up leaving the company and going to a sister company like I think 6 months later after I started this. I actually in 2019 I wrote down and I said, I'm gonna become a bookkeeper for online people. Like for other business, I'm gonna do this, build it up and leave my corporate job. And my boss at the time was a close friend, so I would tell her stuff, and so she and I were kind of working together on it, and it never went anywhere. A lot of it was because I had the idea, I was working towards it. I was working towards my certification with QuickBooks,
Mhm.
and the that was one of the things that stood my way because I had the idea that I needed to be certified as a certified in an accounting software
Mhm.
to become a bookkeeper, and that was not true. You don't have to have a certification to become a bookkeeper, especially if you know what you're doing. And with all my, past experiences in accounting and AP, payroll, AR, bookkeeping in itself, I had everything. I just had this idea, this mindset that I have to have proof that
Mhm.
I am knowledgeable in this. And I've had that my whole life. I have a I have a bachelor's degree in history, and
Mhm.
I've never used it because I've been in counting the whole time. So in 2019, around the same time, I applied to get my MBA because I didn't think I was good enough to be in the accounting field because I don't have a business degree.
Yeah.
And so it's just this whole mindset. So my biggest advice is if you have a business idea and you want to run with it, write it down and write down how you're going to do it and then really take a look at that and start questioning it.
I love
If you
that.
want to do lawn care, write it down. Okay, I'm going to start a lawn care business. Do you currently do lawn care? Yes. Well, there you go. You know how to do lawn care. That's
Exactly.
awesome.
I love
You know?
that. That is such good advice. And I will say too, my own experience kind of parallels that. I have 4 degrees, 4.
Wow.
And starting my own business, I just still didn't feel like I knew enough.
Yeah.
That is an
Yeah.
internal
Same.
thing. And
100%.
there's no certification. If 2 master's degrees doesn't make you feel competent,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Exactly.
that is an internal thing. And I love that you
For
said that.
sure.
Write down what you think you need and then question it. That
Yeah.
is, I could end the show right there. That
Yeah.
is such, I'm not kidding. That is such powerful advice. And I wish somebody had
Thank you.
told me that when I started out. So,
Same.
so
Same.
good.
I probably would have started so much sooner
Mhm.
if I had, I mean, it's just one of those things I keep looking back and I'm like, I could have started this business so
Yeah.
many years ago
Yeah.
if I had just taken the chance on myself.
Yeah. And just, I'm telling, and for me too, like the confidence has come from doing, just putting myself
Yes,
out there,
100%.
even the failures, even the
Yeah.
times where I'm like, oh, like you had client issues. I've had a couple client
Mhm.
issues and I'm like, I learned from those
Yeah.
experiences.
Well,
Um,
and that's another thing I do want to mention with client issues. Make sure as a business owner or entrepreneur, when you're working for someone else as a contractor basis, that you have insurance. So as
yeah.
a bookkeeper, we have E&O. I have general liability and I have E&O insurance.
Mhm,
I've never had anyone try to come after me, but I had someone that I didn't have a good experience with accuse me of doing something inaccurate that was not even on our contract.
mhm.
But I did have insurance, so if she ever tried to come after me, it would be completely,
Yeah,
it would be covered and I wouldn't have to deal with it.
yeah.
But that's a huge thing. A lot of business owners that don't have like brick and mortar stores
They
and
think
have
they don't have
online business,
insurance.
they don't have insurance. And it's not that expensive. I think it's nowadays, I think it's like $60 or $70 a month if you get the best plan,
Right, with
but it's
general
worth it.
and
Yeah, with
yes.
general liability and like if depending on the business, but bookkeepers need to have E&O, which is
Yes,
errors and omissions.
yes.
But it is a huge, huge thing, and that's half the battle. Just
I
getting that insurance, peace of mind for me,
Yeah,
honestly.
totally worth the money to just to have that
Yes.
peace of mind and protect yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, looking ahead, what are
Mhm.
your goals or aspirations for the future for your business?
So my biggest goal right now, I'm so excited to share this, is to hire a bookkeeper and a VA by next summer. So this summer, my goal was to take a step back, be with my kids more. I had my youngest in a 2-day program, so that meant I would work 2 days a week, and it was great. Me and the kids did a lot of stuff the 3 days of the week, but the summer flew by. I still don't feel like I ever spent a lot of time, like the time I wanted with them. I wanted to be out of the house more, and
Mhm,
I didn't get to do that. And it's mostly because I did end up working the first half of the week too. And that's just being a business owner. I mean,
mhm,
I get it. That's not a big deal. We did swim lessons, we did gymnastics, we did some other things. It was great. But I wanted to do more, especially with my kids being older next summer. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hire a bookkeeper and
mhm.
I'm going to hire a VA to do all the admin stuff, and I will check in once a day or check in once a week
Yeah.
because that's my biggest goal. Is like I've got to have something in place
Mhm,
to where I can truly take a step back and be like, you guys take it, run with it.
mhm.
I'll be here for support and just let it fly like that during the summer. And
Yeah.
that way I can really prioritize my kids.
I love that because they're little for such a short period of time.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I mentioned
Yeah.
that I have a son, he's 17 and a half and 6 foot
Mhm.
tall, and it went
Oh,
like,
wow.
you know,
Yeah.
anytime we get to this time of the year where kids start school back, all the memories pop up on Facebook and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
You know, the first day of kindergarten popped up the other day. I'm like, man, that went fast. It went-
yeah.
so
Yeah.
fast. So I love that you're prioritizing that. All
Yeah.
right. Last question is
Okay.
what can we do to support you? Do you have any referral requests? You know, everybody in our Facebook group will see this. Is there, any kind of particular clients you're aiming for, anything like that?
So I have tried so many times to like niche down,
Mhm.
and it every time I niche down, it kind of backfires on me because then I'm like, oh, I niched down, but I really like working with this person or this type of industry. So I've kind of thrown that out the window. My website says like I do work with women-owned small businesses and female entrepreneurs, but my favorite, I shouldn't say favorite, my biggest client that I do like I'm their entire billing department. It's run by two men
Yeah.
and it's a production company. So
Mhm.
I don't cater to only women, but I prioritize the women because I know most women who own businesses are moms
Right.
because they're trying to do, the work-life
Same.
balance and
Yeah.
family thing.
Same thing we're
So,
doing. Yeah.
yeah. And so I really don't have a particular client. Am leaning more towards recently working in the production and media entertainment industry because I've have a lot of practice with that now and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Met a lot of people through it.
Nice.
But yeah, I am always up for referrals. I love being able to refer people back and I'm huge on networking. I mean, I am happy to jump on a coffee chat, get to know other businesses, be able to refer other businesses as well. But yeah, I am happy to help and answer questions. If you have bookkeeping questions, accounting questions, feel free to reach out to me. that's one of my biggest things is I try to help as many people as I can. I have my business, I have, my means to make money, but also I'm happy to answer a one-off question here and there. You know,
You're
always
good.
happy to help.
You're such a good resource. And yeah, so I'll encourage anybody that's watching, if you got questions and want to learn more about Jamie, reach out to her. I'll put all of her contact information here. And thank you so much for coming and being a part of this. It was such a good interview, and I love learning more about you and getting to share you with the group.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been
Thank,
great.
thank you very much.